You talk about how there's a lot of possibilities in the workplace, and with the right person, your career can be propelled. With the wrong person, you could be severely disappointed. And you say it's all about relational IQ. So what is relational IQ, and why is it important to any person working in an office environment or on the factory floor or, anywhere?
Well, relational IQ is simply a person's understanding and intelligence quotient that will give them the ability to navigate the landfill of relationships. And it's critical. In my book, The People Factor, I deal with business relational issues that I've seen time and time again as I've led a large organization and also as I have mentored business leaders around the world. And my book covers a number of relational concepts and business principles, but the most important one is simply that there are no neutral relationships. You have some kind of relationship with every person in your life, and you hit on it just a second ago. The right relationships will propel you to great heights of achievement, or the wrong relationships will keep you tethered to mediocrity and disappointment for the rest of your life. And they're really about, in my book, I cover about 10 don'ts that will destroy life-changing connections at work. But out of the 10, I think there are really only about 5.
So let's go through those 5, actually. Let's talk about it. So the first one is don't tweak the truth. What exactly does that mean?
Well, studies show now that between 20 to 30% of applicants tweak their resumes so that they can look better or appear better to potential corporations and employers. And I get it. People now are under a tremendous amount of pressure to keep and maintain competitive, well-paying jobs. But if current events, Jolene, have taught us anything, is simply this: the truth always comes out. And so being inauthentic or dishonest will always undermine potential or current relationships.
So the second one is don't force it. Does that mean don't try too hard?
Well, what it means is this. In whatever you do, if you're doing it only for money, at some point you're going to be miserable. And so real joy and fulfillment comes from doing things that are connected to your character and your overall values. And so you've got to evaluate all of your relationships with your peers, and even with the company that you work for, and make sure that those relationships are congruent with your values and your character. And if they are not, don't make them or force them to try to fit in your life, because ultimately you're going to be disappointed.
Well, the third point you have has to do with history, and we know history tends to repeat itself, but you say don't repeat the past.
Yeah, and Jolene, this is really about possibility and a concept that I call promotability. The truth is that everybody is on the path to becoming. This is why we spend so much money with education and training. And what this means for corporations and for individuals is that often the past is not always the best indicator of a person's future or their promotability. Often we allow what's happened in a person's past, mistakes or other issues, to be the indicator of whether they're promotable in the future or whether they're even a possible good match in the future. And sometimes people's mistakes in the past are often the greatest things that help them to get on the right path for a better future. And so that's really what I mean when I say don't repeat the past.
Interesting. Now, the fourth one is don't lose personal power. Obviously, in the workplace, power dynamics can be very sensitive, right, Van? And so what's the best way to navigate, to maximize your experience, show off that you're someone who's capable, and yet not maybe outshine or anger the next level up?
Well, that's a good question. It's kind of an old adage that you may have heard, and it goes like this: you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. And while that's cute, it doesn't really hold up in the workplace, because often you can't pick your coworkers, which means often you will end up having to deal with difficult people, which is why the whole notion of raising your relational IQ, which I talk about a lot in my new book, The People Factor, is so critical. Because in the workplace, you have to learn how to be able to identify and handle difficult people so that you can be effective in the workplace without negatively being affected by those difficult people.
Isn't it tough, though, when you're in the workplace and you run into someone who may not jive with you to avoid them? I mean, how do you actually handle that when you're in close quarters, maybe working on a project together? Everyone has, someone at work that maybe they're not exactly the best puzzle piece with.
Yeah, it can be hard, but raising your relational IQ can help you to really handle that with great savvy. The bottom line is that you can learn how to work with a difficult person so that you're effective and that the bottom line of what you're called to accomplish together is done. But you don't necessarily have to take all of their baggage and all of their negativity home with you. And so it's really about understanding what those principles are so that you can navigate through what I call the minefield of relationships.
Interesting. Okay, well, the last one, last but not least, you say, don't accept everyone. And when you're at the office, that's a hard one for me to understand, because I think what you're trying to do is build your relational IQ, right? And so you're trying to develop these stronger, more effective relationships, but you're saying you don't have to accept everyone. What does that mean?
Well, it means something very critical. For many people, they probably remember in grade school, kindergarten, first and second grade, when we were making new friends, we used to, in some circles, in certain cultures, write on a piece of paper, do you want to be my friend? Check yes, or check the box no. And interestingly enough, even though our lives have become more nuanced and we have become more educated and we're dealing with the multiplicity of things, unfortunately, many people handle business relationships the same way. Particularly, Jolene, in this age of reality TV, because most of the examples that we're given about relationships teach us that we are to just allow people to have all access to our lives, and that's not true. People have got to understand that the people in their lives and are around them right now, those people are charting the course for their next week, their next month, and ultimately their next year. And so people have got to send individuals, particularly potential workplace and personal relationship individuals, through what I call a qualification and selection process. Everybody should not have access to you, and you shouldn't give full access of your life to everyone. People should have to qualify for you, and then through that qualification process, you have to select the right people that are congruent with where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do, so that those relationships are ultimately effective and they're helping you to get to your end goal instead of just casually taking you to your demise.
Van, that's so interesting. You know, we just had a jobs report come out, and 162,000 new jobs were created. It's a disappointing number. Unemployment is still at 7.4%. Do these rules apply for people who are looking for a job, who are unemployed?
I'm sorry, you broke up, Lauren. Jolene, could you say that again?
Yeah, so, you know, we have a lot of people who remain unemployed in the U.S., 7.4%, yeah. Right? So do these rules still apply for people who don't have a job, who maybe are looking for work, who are unemployed right now?
Oh, absolutely. Because while money is often the motivating factor for a job hunt, after jobs are given or after you accept a position, you now got the greater work of making sure that it's a good fit. And so if people understand all of the rules and principles that I really share in the new book, The People Factor, not only will it help them to better identify greater workplace connections in terms of opportunities that are great for them, not just because it's a job opportunity, but because it's a great match for them. But once they get those jobs, these principles will also help them to climb the ladder effectively and just overall health in the workplace.